This is January, the busiest, this is the busiest time for most lawyers, divorce lawyers for that matter. People go through the break season, the holiday season, and coming out of this, the amount of time people have spent together, the gifts they've exchanged, the kind of break they've had, and then the break is followed by a heartbreak. Divorce lawyers get much busier, according to statistics in the Western world, especially during January when families break up, couples break up. And this leaves another big burden in a situation where you've had children. The latest statistics in the United Kingdom state that 3 million children, 3 million children are now products or children of broken relationships. The number could be bigger depending on how statistics are collected, and probably other people who are seeming to be living together, but almost not living together. Men moving into children's bedrooms because they've given up. Quite often it's actually the men. It's rare to find the women, especially in our current situations, women being the ones who do the move. And therefore you find a lot of times it's the men now moving to the children's bedrooms, and or in other situations there might even be where women now feel like, well, I can't share a bed with the person, and they just leave. A lot of heartbreak goes on. Today we are going to probably not delve so much on that, except in the case of the children, because of the statistics now, the 3 million children that we are talking about. And once you start now putting that into the demographics of, Black, white, Asian, maybe the numbers, while significant, you might find that there are more white families that break up, but as a proportion, as a percentage of the population, you might find that actually that number becomes bigger from a percentage point of view in comparison to the proportion or the percentage of the population that these people constitute. So while it might be something that is out there for many people of color, Black people for that matter. Someone was even saying with Ugandans now it is even worse. So I thought it is probably an area that we can try to see how can we save our homes. It might be that you managed to sit through your problems, discuss them, and then opted and decided that definitely there is something that we can do. Let's be adults. Let's get back together, probably for the sake of children, but most likely for our own sake, so that we look like we have agreed on how to disagree on particular things. And then if you are a child of that breakup, how has it affected you? Around Christmas, I was moving, and it was the first time that actually around a big day, big public holiday, I've managed to sort of intermingle with a lot of people who are celebrating a particular ceremony, which is Christmas. And I met Jack. Jack was moving from his dad's home to his mom's home because they are separated, and then we had to go early to dad's place, spend a few hours, and then move to mom's place. There are cases where you've had, husband telling you for the first time, I'm spending this day alone because I broke up with my ex-wife. And while we broke up, we had 2 stepchildren. And I'm not obliged now to go and buy gifts for the stepchildren or for now my ex-wife. And therefore, it is the first time I'm going to be spending time alone. Another one can't even go to his own parents because the sister is coming back home, and the sister is one person they can't look each other in the eyes. And as a result, just decides to go to a friend's parents. These are all dilemmas that might sit in situations where parents have separated. The kind of task that you have to put, the amount of effort that goes into that. It will be interesting to hear if there are any young people out there listening or watching this conversation and they have been the victims of that sort of situation. It is not your fault. And probably even with the parents, there might be situations that are extenuating circumstances, reasons beyond their control that have pushed the situation there. But we want to see most likely, and this is from even sort of a home family perspective. For some reason, our programs have ended up being so much about the home, so much about what is happening in the homes. We've really, the best word would be in Uganda, tutaganjude. We have gone deep down and gone under the carpets, under the beds, into the bed sheets, and brought out a lot of stuff that probably could become a lesson to somebody. It might be that you are in a relationship that is about to break up. You are really sitting under a lot of strain, but probably listening to people's conversations tonight, it might make you change your mind. It may be that you are one of the success stories that we will be celebrating tonight. People who broke up but then realized they can get together. Recently, a very interesting case happened of a couple that remarried after 12 years. And from an Islamic perspective, there's nothing wrong with that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a provision that even in the case of divorce, in the first divorce, you can go back to your wife. Second divorce, you can go back to your wife. Third divorce, she'd have to get married somewhere else. And if it feels like the other person now has divorced her and gone through the same process, then you can get back together. So there's a provision, there's room for that. 12 years down the road, this lady who was working for an international organization traveled to the US, got a younger man, stuck with the younger man. Man left back in Africa, man finds another woman, gets married. 12 years down the road, they just feel like there were some unresolved issues, unresolved in terms of their relationship, and they got back together. Wife starts, ex-wife starts introducing slowly. Before they knew it, they were already now back together. Interesting story. Interesting in the sense that after 12 years, to realize that probably there's something that was amiss, something that probably you didn't get right the first time, and now you're coming to make right this second time. These are the kinds of stories that probably would be helping us, but also importantly to see what can we do to make sure that we save our relationships. What could be the last minute situation? We have gone to the dua, we have gone to the imams, we are trying the best that we can do, but somehow, somewhere, we are really on the edge, about to break up. Is there something that we can do that could change that? As children, surprisingly, there are times when children have come because they are part of our relationship. They have intervened, they have come in at the last minute into a situation and helped, parents to stick together because of children's intervention. They have gone in, probably older children and therefore not very young children. But even the fear of what might happen to the children, helping parents now to refocus their thoughts, not think about just themselves, but about the people that are going to be affected by the resultant effect. So tonight, inshallah, we shall be trying to explore this. It is probably a family that you might have grown up in, a family like that. But just to sort of see, what do you think worked? It would be very interesting probably to hear from a couple that might just decide to sort of confess to this, that we got to a breaking point, we broke up, or we're just about to break up, and this one thing changed everything. Come, let's talk with me, Kassim Kayira. 21 minutes past 8 o'clock in the United Kingdom. And definitely, we are live on 75W Radio. We are live on Ummah Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. And as the program works normally, we just cross to you because it is your experiences that make this program what it is. Talking to you, talking with you just to find out your own takes on the situation. I'll come to you first and foremost, Layla. Allow me just to, hijack you in the heat of the moment, just to sort of get your take. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, Layla. Hello, Layla, you can unmute yourself. Oh, still shaky. Hello, Layla, are you there? I'll just break and go to Hajat Sara. Hajat Sara, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome back from the Majid.
Thank you.
How is family? How is everyone there?
Everyone is okay, alhamdulillah.
Amen. Well,
Yeah.
today we are talking about a very, very important point. Statistics. Yes, Layla, I've seen your message. You are unable to speak at work, but listening in. Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu fikum. It's about 3 million children now who are living with parents, one of the two parents, because they're coming from broken homes. First of all, your reaction to that statistic, Hajat sir.
Oh, it's really, really upsetting. And we wouldn't want to have children living like that, because I'm sure everyone would want to grow up in a stable family. It's quite upsetting and not easy for the children mostly, because they are the ones who always suffer most when we have problems in a relationship. And yet, I don't think any of it is their own doing. They have any hand in it.
Now, considering the fact that the UK is about 64 million, 3 million is quite a significant number, especially for these children. Now, let's try to go into the minds of these children and what they must be going through in times of breakups. What sort of challenges do these children face? In case of immediate breakup, in the absence of one of the parents, what would you say is the sort of the immediate thing that happens to these children?
First of all, they miss out whether it's their mom or their dad is gone. They won't have that figure in the home. And as parents, we all have our own different roles. A dad plays a different role and a mom plays a different role. We both have to be there to have our children to have a better life. I would think so, in my own perspective. I grew up without a mom, not because they divorced, but my mom died. And all my life, I've missed my mom. Everything that I didn't get, I was like, maybe because mommy was not there. So you can imagine children who grow up in a home where they have seen their parents go their different ways because of problems. I would think it would be even more worse. I knew my mom died and I'll never get her, but it didn't stop me from sometimes looking around thinking that maybe one day she'll come back, because I would miss her. There are times when, like visiting days, when she wouldn't be there. I know other children have their moms and dads. When children talk about their moms and I can't speak about my mom. I had nothing to share. You feel really bad.
Who raised you then, a stepmom or grandmom?
Okay, daddy didn't give us up to our stepmom. We had an auntie who was our mom's sister. But it's never the same. They all have their own agendas. They have their own things at heart. You may be with her, but she may not take you as priority or look after you like your real mom. Something is always missing. Doesn't matter how much care.
Now, tonight we're trying to explore the issue of how we can save our marriages. Of course, the failure of marriages, the failure of most relationships is a number of factors. Every situation is different. Therefore, there is not like one particular reason that leads to breakups. It might be infidelity, it might be incompatibility sometimes that is realized very late on. It might be impatience, it might be lack of religiosity, sort of weak faith. It might be things that are not working in the bedroom as well, because sometimes people ignore that, and it can be both sides. It doesn't matter whether it's the man or it's the woman. There are many reasons that lead to people breaking up. There are target workers in relationships, target lovers, people who come specifically for a reason because they've just arrived, they don't have papers, they need somewhere to live. They come to you for convenience, and the moment they think they've settled, the paperwork is done, they run at the first instance. That, of course, all now speaks volumes just in terms of the different reasons. But tonight, we're sort of trying to see how we could save a relationship. And I think before we can even think about what we need to do, we need to think about what might have caused it, probably, because that's where we should be starting. In your own view, what should be there as the guiding principle, as the basic principle that probably could apply to all these different situations as a yardstick to try to save marriages?
I think before we look at what we could do to save our marriages, we still have to look maybe not so deeply at what could cause issues, so that people can identify these issues and work on them as quickly as they can to avoid having a broken relationship. Because in my own view, I think if you constantly criticize your partner that could cause problems. Being defensive all the time, having contempt or disrespect or making someone feel worthless, that is a problem in itself. Walling, or silent treatment, people use it so quite often, but it's a problem. Having no communication in a relationship is a disaster. Infidelity, as you mentioned, is another major problem. Lack of intimacy or having stress-related financial issues, religious differences and cultural issues, differences could also cause trouble. Being not compatible, because we've heard about people saying, oh, we are not compatible, that's why we broke up. And having constant fights, that could cause another big problem. So we need to put in some work to save our marriages. And how can we do this? We need to use kindness when discussing issues or any conflicts, and be gentle and exercise some self-awareness and empathy. We need to know when to take a break or look for positives, listen with empathy, give each other space, and practice self-care. Stay away from unconstructive criticism and defensiveness, contempt, and also stonewalling or trying to score points. You know, some people are in a relationship when they just want to win all the time, to feel they're the right people, they're the ones who are right all the time. It doesn't work like that. So
when you refer to criticism, what could be, for example?
Yeah, it's like picking someone all the time. Yeah, there is some positive criticism, but there's also negative criticism. Like if someone didn't wash dishes, it's the way you speak to them. If you start by belittling them or putting them down, they are going to feel unhappy. And if you constantly do that, you'll be creating negative emotions, and those are going to impact on your relationship. So what we have to try and do is engage with our partners if they have any concerns, and not to wait for them to pile up. Address things as they come to prevent that build of bad emotions. Also, we need to identify problems and set goals. Sometimes a concern for one person may not be a concern for the other. So it is important to consider your partner's issues as an issue for the relationship to work as a whole. So come together as partners, lay out your potholes, and identify goals to create a roadmap of how to get around them. Also, we need to commit to making changes to save a relationship. You really have to be committed to the cause and reason why changes are necessary. Make the changes your values that you will hold, and be committed to that. For any relationship to stand and for you to grow as a couple, it requires commitment. So you have to be really committed to that. And that is really important in a relationship for it to grow. Now, also, we have to, yes, please.
I just wanted to expound a little bit on the communication issue. When someone is cornering someone, their availability is way so much, their communication is instant and so on. What happens to this communication that it becomes a problem later on in the relationship? What goes wrong? So if someone was able to communicate instantly, you know, like continuously, persistently, almost, you know, like they're in real time, they are communicating. Once you get together, what happens to this communication? What really happens to affect the communication?
When people live together for quite a long time, they just get used to being with each other, and they don't think that anyone will ever leave, and they lose the importance of communication. Sometimes they even think that certain things are very obvious for the other person to know or to see, which may not be true. So it becomes really difficult for someone, and sometimes it's how people speak to each other. Sometimes you may avoid to talk to someone because you are worried about how they are going to react, how they are going to speak back to you. They lose respect for each other. And that also could be a barrier to communication. So there is that fear that builds up, or sometimes just one neglecting it, not knowing how important it is. So they have to be reminded how important it is to keep communicating. Because if you don't say, maybe someone will never know what the problem is or what is going on. And it's always best to say something in time, because they say a stitch in time saves many.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it comes to this issue of communication breakdown, okay, yes, I'm trying to think about some of the times people end up in a situation where the communication becomes ineffective because even where they have tried to communicate, no action has taken place. For example, you communicate to your partner, your wife, your husband, I don't like this. And you don't see that changing. First time, second time you repeat it, third time you repeat it. Probably you get to a point where you feel that even communicating it is no longer effective because it didn't have much of a difference. It didn't make much of a difference then.
Yeah, I think it's how we use our words, because we forget that our words are really very powerful. Yeah, that could also be a problem, because when you live with someone, you get so used to them and you even forget their importance. It's like they're there and they're they can't maybe leave you. You stop valuing them in a way. And we don't even mind how we speak to them. We don't even think about what we say, how they're affected by what we say, how we choose our words. Yeah, and that could also cause trouble, because I've seen people don't talk anymore. And if someone goes to the length of even stopping to talk at all and will not speak to their husband, but their children, the moment he walks in, they are quiet, and they call that what they call it. So is that a silent treatment?
Yes.
And it can go on for a long, long time. And this is damaging the relationship.
Someone sent me a message here to say it is total, complete culture breakdown. People don't know the basics of marriage. They just bump into each other. They get a room for renting. After one child, they go separate, and the woman will go to Saudi Arabia. Where the statistics, I think we are sort of showing 2021, we sent 89,000, and of those, 75,000 were women to Saudi Arabia. Sort of an aside to the conversation. Well, remember, we are still live on 75W Radio and on Uma Connected. Program is Come. Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. Just 25 minutes to 9 o'clock, and we're still talking to Sarah Semakula, discussing some of these very issues as to how, before we talk about saving our relationships, which we must by all means address the causal aspects that lead us to this situation of breakup. Now, Sarah, you have touched the issue of making a deliberate effort to try to address these things. The Quran, again, comes in very handy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we will try to make sure that, you bring these people together. It might be, like relatives, family, close friends, and so on. But the whole idea remains between these two people. In yurida islahan, says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yuwaffiquhum Allah. If they are willing to sort of see change happen, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to grant them the means to be able to reach their decision. But it is all dependent. It starts with you, the two people, husband and wife, or husband and wife, making a decision on, whether to go forward or to leave this particular situation. It comes down to you, the two people, now deciding to make change. If you want positive change, then it definitely will happen. But there are times when you find only one of the two people trying to push for, the good results, which makes it difficult to sort of bring it together.
Yeah.
No, well, that was a question. It didn't sound
No,
like
I didn't hear the question. I thought it was just a statement. Come again, please.
No, well, the question was, what happens in the situation where it is only one of the two parties sort of pushing for the relationship to stay together? Because there are times you can only do so much.
Actually, it won't work. For anything to work, both of you have to have equal interest and have to take it as valuable for both of you. Because if you're either going to be in a relationship where none of you is happy, because probably you might stay in it, but chances are it's going to break up. The moment you close doors and you're not talking to each other and both of you are not having the same kind of interest, then there is a problem, a big problem. So for anything to work, both of you have to be ready to make it work. And both of you have to be ready to put in some work, because it has to be both ways.
I wanted to explore a little bit just before bringing in more people into the conversation. And the issue I wanted to explore was the issue of compatibility. There are those kind of red flags that you see as you try to pursue someone. You see these things that later on become a problem. You ignore them because you think you can get around them or you can sort of change someone. And then they come to haunt you later on. Is there any value in sort of when you see these pointers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tries to show you some aspects, that if you are to pick a lesson, that would be the moment for you to take a lesson, for you to pick up on those? Is there any value in probably looking at these things? Because then later on, as experience has shown, you find yourselves actually in a situation where they become a problem and yet you underestimated them. Is there any value in taking seriously these issues that sort of they look like asides, they look like, you know, like additional stuff, they look like excess baggage, and you think probably you can get rid of them, but then you ignore them and then you come to find that later on in the relationship they come to haunt you. Is that something that you think probably should be, you know, like put into consideration? Do not ignore. Would you say do not ignore these red flags? Or?
I would definitely say shouldn't ignore red flags, because when you say red flag, it means that these are big issues. And as you said, later on in life, they come back to bite you. And you're like, oh, I had seen that. If only I hadn't done it. So for you not to regret what you've done, remember you're picking this partner to live, to have a family with. That's mainly our goal. Someone you're going to live with for quite a long time, or maybe until death do you part, because that would be what we all aim for. So if you see the red flags and you still ignore them, then you are going to put yourself in trouble and your family in trouble, because normally they do come back and manifest in different ways, even huger ways that you had earlier anticipated, and they do kill the relationship.
But there might be certain things that you think you can stand, and then when you get into the reality of it, you realize you can't stand them. Sam Jacobs, I'm trying to get you to unmute yourself, please, as you are new into the conversation. But Hajat Sarah, pushing on to this as I bring in Sam. There are things that you think you might be able to change, and then you realize they are unchangeable, because there is hope, and there are things that people have managed to change.
Mr. Kayira, that is a big mistake. People think that they can change others when we can't change ourselves. Then how do you think you're going to change someone else? It's a big mistake we make. There is no way you're going to change someone. You may speak to them, but if they don't want what you want, it will be very difficult for them to react or do anything better. I really think that it's really difficult when you think you're going to change someone for the sake of a marriage. I don't think it really works.
Barakallahu fikum. Thank you very much. Sam Jacobs might have been an imposter, because the moment I mentioned their names.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something that
please,
in a relationship, if we want to keep our relationship, we need to use kindness when addressing a conflict of interest. Because when you love someone, you should learn to fight fair when there is some difference in opinions. Because if you try to win in every situation, then you're going to have trouble. So every time you have an issue and you want your marriage to work, you should think about how you're handling it. Because most of the time it's about how the issue is brought up, the context, the language we use, and the meaning behind it. Because the way we say things can trigger negative reactions, and this can take forever to heal. The person you're living with may feel attacked, criticized, belittled, disrespected, and unloved. So we should also think about being so kind to other people we live with.
Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khairan. Sarah, thank you very much. I mean, you've opened us into the conversation. Remember the way the program works, in case you just have an idea. You may agree or disagree with what Hajat Sarah said, and it's here that we'll try to explore and expound on these issues. You can you have the very right to disagree, and then maybe you make your own case, and we see out of it we are getting to learn. We need to get examples. We need to get experiences that people have gone through. It would be very interesting to hear from someone probably who had a relationship that broke down but managed to put it together. And yeah, I just said actually before you go, do you know of anyone that you know sort of broke up and then managed to come back together as a way of pushing forward, and how did they do it?
Yes, I've heard about many couples who have gone back together, and it's really worked. Sometimes when you live with someone, you don't realize how valuable they are to you, and you may think that you can do without them. But some people have parted, taken their different ways, and then come back together, and things have worked. And for the good of their children, even life has gotten even better because they had some children together that really benefited for their parents getting back together. These things have really happened, but not so many.
Not so many, but
not so many, because some hold pride. They're like, maybe it would have worked, but they don't want to go back. So they are so proud, they don't want to try again, and that could cause trouble.
Ameen. Barakallahu fikum. Chitunzi, I come to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello, Bwana Chitunzi. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, Chitunzi. Might be held up as well. Hajj Babe. Hajj Babe, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh, Bwana Chitunzi, you are in. And so, welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Well, listening to the conversation, I'm sure something tickled you somehow. What's your own take on the topic, first of all?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I'm always logged in, but I never get the opportunity to contribute. But thank you for giving me this chance.
Amen.
I think there's no specialist about relationships, but my opinion is, if you go into a relationship and end up having children, that should be the tying factor. You can tolerate each other and forgive each other for the sake of the kids. I know there are some arguments that come out and argue against staying in a dirty relationship for the sake of kids. But where I come from, as long as you have children, you stop competing each other and serve for the benefit of the kids.
But Chitunzi, now what happens to your own happiness? Because a relationship is supposed to bring happiness, and the children actually are part of that happiness. If you're going to sacrifice your own happiness now for the sake of children, and you're living your full life.
It's actually my thinking. I think I'm very different. I think when you can't burden somebody to make you happy. You should come into a relationship when you're moderately or averagely happy, and don't burden your partner to make you happy, because that's too much.
Yes, I'm sure many listeners and viewers would have a view on this. Yes, you shouldn't burden somebody else.
Yeah, that's too much responsibility to expect somebody to make you happy all the time. Come to me when you're fairly happy, and I'll contribute to your happiness, but don't fully rely on me to make you happy. The kids can rely on me to make them happy because I'm a parent, but for a partner, I feel when you come to me when you're averagely happy, then our relationship can stabilize and move forward.
What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, specifically or nearly about this, that He created husband and wife. Actually, He tells men that He created wives for you, litaskunu ilayha, so that you may find comfort, you may find rest, you may find consolation, you may find completeness in them. So in that sense,
I think that's exactly my point. You
yes.
come to find fulfillment and completeness, not fully relying on somebody. That's actually I'm very accurate relating to the Quran as well. Yeah.
Well, Hajat is saying here, when you live with someone, they contribute 95% on your mental well-being. So that happiness that you think you've come with, 95% is being contributed to by the person that you just brought into your life. And that's why it is important to choose carefully who you admit into your life.
Yeah, I think sometimes, especially the world we live in, we just come into this country and we've dropped our traditions. We tend to rush to get our partners, so that might likely contribute to the problems in our relationships. But tolerance and forgiveness, and of course relying to or praying more to Allah together, helps relationships stay longer.
Now, because we're talking about saving our relationships, it means if we are saving, it just means there is a problem. It can't be that everything is all right. So if
every relationship
where, yeah, go ahead.
Every relationship has ups and downs. Yeah, so definitely you're going to find problems, you're going to find challenges. It's a test to stay in a relationship. Just imagine you're born together and you fight. What about somebody you've met when you're already grown up and have different characters and you have your own? Staying together with somebody is just tolerating. It's more than love that you stay with somebody. It's difficult staying with somebody for years.
But I actually want to put you still again just a little bit more on the issue of the children, where you use children now as a yardstick to keep your relationship together. Because then once the children, for example, now grow up and leave the home, children have grown up and they grow up very quickly in these countries. Back home, probably, we seem to never grow up. You can still be home for as long as you want. Children in these countries, by the time they are 16, they are leaving home. And therefore, because of their fast growing, once the children have left now, does it not draw back now to the fact that now it has to be about the two of you?
I'll tell you my analogy. My father is, subhanallah, may God protect him. He's almost 87. And he's always told us, if you marry and get children, if you separate, the kids end up hating both of you. They hate the mother for chasing the father. They hate the father for chasing the mom. So for you to keep the kids happy, at any age, kids never grow to be in front of their parents, actually. I mean, I'm an old man. If I go to my dad, I'm just like a baby. I'm sure whoever has old parents and we are mature, whenever you go to your parents, you remain children. So for the sake of the happiness of the children, the impact this divorce has on children is massive, is great. I've interacted with children who've not had parental input from one of the parents, and the impact is huge. Kids are very annoyed, they are very grumpy, they get upset over very small things just because they've not had the input of the other parents. It could be a father or a mother. So you've got to keep together. As long as you have children, you can tolerate all the funny characters, as long as it's not, of course there's a red line that people may not tolerate some of the things, but small issues can be tolerable and you move forward just for the sake of, and by the way, people who live together live longer. So
I agree to that. Yes, I agree with that. Now, probably if you had a word to a person, to a couple that is just going through a lot of strain, because the interesting thing about these conversations is we get into these conversations and you're thinking, I've just thought through this and probably it's happening. But some of the people that come to attend these conversations, some of the people that are part of this conversation tonight, might be people that are going through a very difficult situation, a very difficult time in their relationships. Just about sort of saying, I'm hanging in there, I'm just about to let go. If you had a word for such a couple, what would you say to them?
Well, such couples that are really struggling, the first thing is to sit together and talk as a couple. I know people like bringing in advisors. Those advisors, sometimes they misadvise and just end up ruining the relationships further. But the two adults fell in love and have had terrible misunderstandings. You can sit and talk and agree to disagree. Talking helps. Opening up communication is really important. So if you talk, I'm sure you can reach an agreement. The Quran allows divorce. So if things really are beyond repair for the safety of each other, then you can move apart. But talking and trying all avenues is very important.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Barakallahu fikum. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. You're saying it's not your first time, definitely. I'm certain. And sorry, because you've been coming on and then not being
No, I'm not blaming you for not giving me an opportunity. I'm just grateful.
No, I'm just saying now it is fantastic that we got to you at a time actually when it matters very, very, very much on a topic that is pretty sensitive. Because quite some time it's about the topics that we don't want to talk about. But it's also about revealing oneself, because in talking about situations, sometimes we reveal something about ourselves that we didn't know we were, and some people are scared of that. I've just been looking at the house, and the children are beginning to grow pretty fast. This is from Zainab. Talking is another thing, but listening and understanding what the partner is communicating. Zainab, I'll just take you on that. If you're in a position to speak, please, that would be very nice. Just coming off the back of Chitunzi, and then I'll come to Isa Makumbi. Zainab, I come to you because you raise an important issue here. It's not enough to just communicate, and communication is both. It's about listening and it's about talking. I was giving an example that I'm looking at the children sort of running out. In the first instance, we were sort of looking at get a big house, get a bigger space where we can just have like everyone in, and then slowly by slowly they start moving out, beginning to start their own lives. And I realized me and my wife get to a point where now we are left just the two of us. Where it all started from is where it's going back to, and then we are stuck together. In case we cannot work out issues, that makes it absolutely dangerous and fatal. And quite often we find that if one of the couples dies, then the other follows within a very short period of time, because you are so intertwined, you're so interlinked, your lives are so much together that you might struggle to sort of go it all alone. And those are lessons that you get as you grow. But you look around and you realize the children that Chitunzi is telling us to be the guiding factor to sort of stick around will be gone very soon. So that happiness, I think, is one area that we would need, I think, to address. Zainab, you have the mic, please. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello, Zainab. Hello, Zainab. You can unmute yourself. Because you are saying here, talking is one thing, but listening and understanding what your partner is communicating. Zainab, I think you're getting ready. Then why don't I just go to Isa Makumbi. Isa Makumbi, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu wa barakatuh.
And thank you for always being on the program. We appreciate that. We do not take that for granted. Thanks for taking the time.
My wife said that whenever the Tuesdays and Wednesdays, between 7 and 10, yes. He said that is for Radio Daddy and the other community. So it has given up. So it will be surprised if it doesn't mean.
Have you on?
Yeah.
Now we are talking about saving our relationships. And,
yeah, the thing is, that is a very interesting story.
Yes.
I think the youth of today, they have got no patience. They meet today, the next day they are married. You say life doesn't go like that. The way they interact, they have no respect for each other. They have got no room to maneuver or for conversation. Anything they're physical, no respect. They judge. They don't respect each other. The way they treat each other, they can't compromise either my way or you're on the highway. That's their mentality. And the thing is, made life very easy for them. Remember when I was courting my wife, I've been with my wife for 40 years. I courted her for 2 years before she could allow me to marry her. That was, we've been together for 42 years. But the thing that we went through.
Was it the style of going to throw the stone on the roof, on the iron sheet roof?
Yeah.
Or that the person to come out and talk?
Yeah, before I met her, I said that I've got interest. She said, no, you look like a toy boy. So I had to convince her that I'm not a toy boy. That was one of the hardest. I had to convince her that I'm serious. And she made clear that for me, I'm not going for a toy boy. Either you're with me and you are determined or committed. If it's not like that, then just go your own way. That was the point, how she made it. And what she told me when I was courting her, he said, if at all there's any wedding, I don't want any contribution from anybody. You are marrying me, so you have to work and get money and then you marry me, but not to go passing around the bucket so that people can contribute and marry. He said, a man who can't marry his wife, I don't expect that he's a man. You have to pay for everything, to foot all the bills. And that's what I did. He said, yeah, I'll do my part and do a part. When it came to live together, he said that I need to live a normal life. I don't want any artificial life. If you got £5, that's what we spend on.
So how did you deal with the fact of finding out information? Because what you've said in the beginning is that young people rush into relationships and quickly get married without even like digging deep enough. They are short of patience. But the kind of communication that we have at the moment is such that you just go onto someone's Facebook profile, 300 photographs, just perusing through the photographs, you get an idea about the person, and then you'll see the friends and you can actually hear from the friend. So communication has become even much easier than it used to be nowadays, where you had to find a singer or a best friend, the very person you are interested in, to start giving you details about the person. Could it be that the times that have changed have also contributed, to the manner in which people handle things? You can access a lot more information now, much faster than it used to be.
Time hasn't changed, but just become modern. The thing that we go through were the same hurdles. You've got no money, you've got nothing, you have to start work, and you have to balance life and work. But the people of today, he gets married, the next day wants to buy the most expensive car. You say, how are you going to afford it? They say, I have to do work, hard work, and have got no time for the family. You find that they have got no time to be together. For us, you have to be a time to say, between this and this, you have to be together as a family. Say Saturday and Sunday, you have to be together to find out how we are going to do things. If she was working, I had to be at home looking after children. When she was working a part-time job, she had to go on the part-time job. I used to drop her to her workplace, come home, and be with my children. And I didn't have any interference with any external force. I wouldn't take any advice from any friend. I knew whatever I'm doing, it was my decision or her decision. If I was making a tough decision, I didn't go to anybody to ask to seek for any advice. Even my mother, I lived with my mother for a year in a house in London. But when it came to my life and my wife, that was personal, I didn't want any interference. And she knew it. She could comment, but she knew where to stop. And when I got to children, I made it clear that when I'm talking with my wife, there's a boundary. You are my son, you are my daughter, but not going to interfere in our life. I made it clear to them. If you have an argument, don't poke your nose in. Keep away from it. That they need from there on. They said if there's an argument, they used to leave the room till they sort themselves out. And that's how I brought them up. That my life is my life. My wife's life is my wife's life. For example, I've seen people fighting over the phone. My wife knows the password of my phone, but she doesn't temper it. She's not interested in looking into my phone. My account, she knows it. Even she knows whenever I'm at home, I say go and get money from a bank. She knows the combination of my cards. So I've got nothing to do. If I do anything I do, Mr. and Mrs., any business I'm doing, she has to be involved in. Decision I make, she has to make the decision. If she says no, I'll respect her decision. She has to give me a reason. So we are together. My children, all of them have gone. I'm even living more happier since they've gone.
Happier how now that you can just move freely and throw away your shirt and you don't have
Yeah. So we're liberated.
Yes.
When we go on holiday, we are together. Whenever I go, she's around. Any decision she make, she has to be involved in. But you see the young generation trying to keep everything away from them. You see a man and one married, one goes and buy a plot somewhere, another buys a plot. You say, what type of life you are living? You are a man and wife. Any investment, be fully involved in. Work together. If I've got children, if you've got any problems, you share it and you deal with it. But nowadays, say this is mine, I've got a mobile, you can't touch it. I've got a secret password. Why? If you're married, why? What are you hiding? You can, if you are free with her, she will not interfere in your life. So
in response to our question tonight, then Bwana Isa, regarding how do we save our homes? How do we save our marriages from breakup?
You have to be open. If you have got financial problems, tell your wife. You see some of our gents, they never tell their wife how much they're earning. Neither other side, never tell the husband how much he's earning. Why should you keep it a secret? If you don't know their income, how are you going to plan? I'm telling my wife that I'm earning 5,000 pounds when I'm earning 2,000 pounds. How do I balance when it comes to pay the bill? She expects you're earning more money than you have. Then think that you have got someone who's supporting. Be open. Be open. You don't have anything to hide. That's what I tell the people that you are in the bed together. Why should I hide anything? If you stay in the same bed together, why should I hide anything? Anything you do, be open. If you don't have money, I tell my wife, I don't have any money. Have you got any money to spend or to do like this or to give me? If I've got no money, I'm not ashamed to ask her, can I get some money? If she has got no money, she's not ashamed to say, there's the card, go and get some money and do whatever I want. When it comes to salary, say, are you working? Yes, I'm working. We put the money together. This is for investment, this is for that. This 10% is my life, it's my money. How I spend it is none of your business. And 10% of her money, it's her money. How she spends this is none of my business. So you put some money.
Mr. Isa, every relationship, like we agree, has ups and downs. Have you ever got in your relationship to a point where it seemed like you're going to break up? Was there any stress that was brought to your relationship, your 40-year relationship, to the point that you felt like you're about to go apart?
There was an incident. I just bought a brand new car. It was brand new. I think I had it for 6 months. She had an accident in the car. When she came at home, she was trembling. I said, what's the problem? Said, I don't know. I've rushed much the car. The car is really terrible mess. I said, are you safe? I said, yes, I'm safe. Why are you bothering about the car? The car is insured. If it is written off, I'll get another car. My concern was your health. That was the only incident. We've done some business with her, lost some money, but we never blame each other because it's a joint decision. If you go wrong, we go wrong. Never blame each other. Anything we do, we decide together. We have to have a debate and then agree. She has to convince me and I convince her. So if anything goes wrong, I will not blame, we never blame each other because it's a joint decision.
Have you managed to impart this sort of information to your children about how you've managed to make it? Is that a conversation you've had with your children at all?
Yeah, I've been having a conversation with them. I told them that if you've got a girlfriend, for me, I don't want girlfriends in my house. I made clear to them. If you bring anybody in my home or in my house, it's a stable boyfriend or a stable girlfriend, and have to have a long-term relationship. But not this, you get X, next day you get this one. Say, I'm not into that. I'm more of the tradition. If you are to get one, be serious. That is my approach. And I've never seen a few girls. I've seen a few girls in my house because they know where I stand. For me, I'm not into this having so many girlfriends, so many boyfriends. That's my brand.
Hajat Sarah in the chat room says, in the olden days, marriage was supported by elders. Any problems that the couples that found difficult to solve, the elders would mediate. And Ramsey says a combination of patience, transparency, and a high sense of compromise will do the magic. That is to save the marriage.
I think
past 9 o'clock, and you're still live on 75W Radio, live on Uber Connected, and you're live on Facebook, on Zoom, and on YouTube. Yes, Isa Makum.
There's one thing that I've got a son of my friend. He's 20 years. Says, when he's 19, say, when I turn 20, I will marry. I say, are you crazy? 20, you want to marry? The thing is, most of our children, they don't take marriage seriously. I've seen even the parents put a lot of pressure on our girls and the boys. The day they turn 20, say, when are you getting married? They're not ready for marriage. We force them into other marriage, and that's why they have a lot of problems. We don't guide them through the process of becoming a man or becoming a wife. We don't have time for that. But for us, we had the opportunity whereby our parents and our kojas and our sengas used to carry us through the process, what marriage stands for, what it means, what are the problems, and how can you solve the problems. But nowadays, you meet a girlfriend in the street, so and so, next day they are married. They haven't gone through the process. We have to, much of the blame is the parents. They never explain to their children what are the problems, the pros and the cons. How do you overcome problems? How do you iron out any difference? If there's any conflict, how are you going to deal with? At all, the thing is what I've been telling my children. Should you raise a finger to beat or to slap a girlfriend, then you have trouble with me, because that's unacceptable.
Well, Mr. Makumbi here, Jaden says that's a hypothetical scenario, and I respect and admire you. If it works in your marriage, remember, it's taken you 42 years actually to get it where it is. Jaden, I've unmuted you. Why don't you speak directly to Mr. Makumbi? Have a conversation. This is what it is. We come and talk. Jaden, Makumbi is listening.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah, I really respect Mr. Makumbi if that works in your family, because what I suspect is that you've only got one wife.
Well, I've got one. Any question?
So yes. I rest my case there. But just take a scenario where you've got 2, 3, or 4 wives, and human nature is that you cannot stop envy, you cannot stop jealousy, it's always there. So however much you try to balance the equation, there will always be suspicion, there will always be doubt that you favor one side of the family. It's the same as with the children. The wives will always think you are favored the child of the second wife or the third wife, and that's going to bring conflict and misunderstanding. So in your case, I don't doubt it, and it's good, it's working, and I would say alhamdulillah, keep going, because you are going to be a role model for all the young people who are listening to this program. But that is hypothetical.
No, it's not. It's possible. For example, I've got my young brothers. They have intention of playing around. I told them that's unacceptable. If you are to marry, you have to marry one. Though we can have four hackies. They say you marry 4 hackies, you have 4 problems. You better have one.
Yeah, I understand that, but some of us have got the stamina to marry 3, 4 wives. So we don't expect, well, the religion accepts it, so it is not a question of luck, it's a question of can you manage to balance the equation, because let alone the religion. Let's leave the religion to one side. If we look at the population of the world at any one time, you'll find that the population of women to men is so big that if we are to follow your model, what's going to happen to all the other women? That's when you're going to bring or introduce instances of cheating or side kicks. The other women will always endeavor to find somebody who they will call their own, and that is the source of problems.
And it may be that Issa Makubi, you are talking as well because Madame is nearby listening.
No. She's upstairs. When it come to Tuesdays and leave Wednesdays, she leaves them in the sitting room alone.
Right. Okay. Well, there's a message here from Haj Baby who says, "Thank you so much for your contribution, Mr. Makubi. If a child is ready for marriage at 20, I'm suggesting that we prepare our children at an early age, because you're saying 19, 20 was too young, and Haj Baby is just saying to you, 20 is not too young. What if they are too ready? There are people who grow up really fast. There are young boys, you see them really being sharp like knives. If you're going to let them wait until they are 26, 27, they will have finished the entire village. There are times when you have to make interventions on the basis of that. It might be a girl who grows so fast. By 12, 15 years old, she's already looking, like very mature. And going to wait for the age that you think is the right age, then might become problematic. So it's kind of a flexible situation. I think this is what Haj Baby is saying. But I've unmuted them and they can speak to you. Haj Baby, you are on. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Speak to Makumbi and Jaded. They are both listening to you. How are you today?
I'm good, and you?
Alhamdulillah. And Layla Khan was here comfortably angry.
Yeah, I know it's just Layla Khan.
Husband's heads. Yes, Hajat, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm speaking that I was suggesting that because for us, when we were growing up, we were not told how marriage is, and it's that last moment when you are going to get married to your husband, and then the auntie calls you and tell you, Hajara, this, that about marriage. It's a lot of things to take in at that 1 day or 2 days or 3 days you stay with your auntie. And the reason why, when we are being told, by the time I got married, it's like they told me that, Hajara, when you get married, there is no omusajja tomudamu wakugamba ekintu simanya teeka amazzi mu kamwa, like you don't say anything. And it's like they don't elaborate, like sometimes you have to talk, you have to sit down and discuss with your husband and stuff. So for us, when we got married, it's like anything, you just keep quiet, and no funa hatred, no funa obusungu, because you cannot explain.
Answer back.
What you are feeling inside, because auntie yagamba, if when you get married you don't say anything. But alhamdulillah, coming in this country is very good that we have opened up, and it has taught us a lot about opening up to our husbands and talking to them. Now, to go back to what I was telling Uncle Makumbi, is like we have to teach our children at an earlier stage. I don't know which age each parent suggests to teach their children, but honestly, for me now, what I've gone through and what I've seen, I sit down with my children and I tell them, like, if you have a dispute with your wife, sit down and talk to them, like nicely. Never tell your wife or your husband a bad word that will stay with them for a long time, that will disturb your marriage. By the time they are 20, because trust me, at 20 they will start telling you, oh mommy, that girl is beautiful, or they are going away from your vicinity. So I think for my side, I think we should start talking to them at an earlier stage.
I think,
now, as you say that,
when I was with my mom,
a message, Isa, just 1 second. There's a message here in the chat room of Hajat Sarah, which I think now will sort of challenge Hajara's theory here, because it says the musajja taddibwamu actually worked and our marriages were saved. So what I'm wondering is whether they so much in coded language, because I'm wondering if they say musajja taddibwamu, I don't know whether that now meant that we could not have a conversation, because having a conversation, throwing back or talking back, and I think it was Hajat Sarah again who did mention, she said, she mentioned something about communication, finding appropriate ways to communicate words. Abaganda bayita ekigambo, emmeme tafumba kigambo, ekwogeza muno ky'atalyerabira. A heart that does not have containment doesn't know how to cushion and sort of package a message, how the message is packaged. Does it mean then that Hajara, you didn't even get it? Like you'd not have a conversation? Is that how you understood it when he said Omsaja Tadwam?
Yes, that's how I understood it. And for me, it really affected my marriage. For sure, it affected my marriage because I didn't know how to communicate to my husband, and I didn't know how to say things, because for me, I thought like you don't have, because honestly, because they don't train. I mean, some things you have to be trained for, some things, like to say, oh, mommy, at least you have a clue. Most especially, like you have to at least have a clue of how to communicate to your husband. I mean, for some people, it can come naturally, like to communicate. That thing about like, oh, and all that kind of thing. So that's how I took it.
Right, Hajara, Mariam Kisitu is here. Stay on there. I think she might be wanting either to add in or disagree with you, and Jaden's hand is up. Jaden, I'll bring you back. Let me hear what is burning Mariam Kisitu here. Mariam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to the conversation.
Alhamdulillah.
Hajara is listening, and so are others.
I'm a bit late, so whatever I'm going to say has probably been talked about. Right. But listening to Mwami Makumbi and Hajara, I first of all agree to a certain extent with what Hajara has just been saying, and also disagree to another extent with what Hajat Sarah put in the chat. Is it
about the Mwami Tadwamu?
Yeah, about the Mwami Tadwamu. Okay, so number one, as a tradition, then the Senga comes. Half of the time, the Senga doesn't know your name. With your siblings. So they come, but number one, Senga 9 out of 10 times yakoma okufumbirwa mu 1900 naye yajja mukomo okitegeera so yababuulira nti kino tokola kiri ebimu biba birungi naye ebimu I think in this day and age, to be honest, tebijja kukola ate bijja ku ending up nga more marriages are failing. The key thing here is communication. We need to learn to speak. Talk to your person. Like someone else mentioned, mufumbire mikwano jamwe. Sometimes to papa, you end up, hooking up with someone.
You fall in cups. No one be couple.
Exactly. So you date miaka 10, miaka 20, miaka meka. Then when it gets to marriage, nga mumazo dating, courtship and all that, 2 years down the line, mumazo okutereza atene mwaukana okitegeera. So okupapa kizibu. Okuyingira mbufumbo nga tosobola communicate nti omusajja agambye nti era ya amazzi okoye okomyewo naye no gamba waye senga yangamba omusajja taddwamu kampape nteeke ya amazzi olusobeera n'ebikunyiga ggwe ng'omuntu. But you're very fearful of that person, especially naddala abawala abato abafumbirwa abaami abakulu ababasingako mu myaka obeera omutya, so you have that at the back of your mind nti bangamba sikola kino. Eventually you hold on to so much until you can't hold on anymore.
Mariam, I think Haji is agreeing with you on that. He's saying the issue of a woman not talking to her hubby raises when they don't court and therefore didn't know each other from before. So yeah, go ahead, please. I just thought it would just feed in very well into what you just said.
And also, it's not you don't have to always court to have a successful marriage. some marriages, to be honest, I don't think there's a formula for marriage. I think marriage is a blessing from God. Oyinza okuba nga tokootinze muntu ne musisinkana and you get married. But what I believe in is, number one, okwesabira. Obufumbo buno butandise butya from the very beginning. Okitegeera. Oluusi tukola ebintu ne baraka neekoma ku lunaku lwe tufumbirwa. That is if there is any at all. So entandikwa eno nayo tulina okuddayo ne tugirevising. Omuntu wange namufuna ntya. You know, especially if we are talking about the Islamic perspective. Okitegeera. Emikolo gyaffe gyali gifaanana gitya. Twali tunyiza Allah. Was Allah part of our mikolo? Okitegeera. Kale yes, naye tuba
So,
twasi.
Mariam, is there a way of undoing that? Assuming we went through that process where our mikolo, our ceremonies angered Allah, we did things that were not right.
Yeah.
Is there any way that we can undo now that we are already in there, probably 3, 4, 5 years?
Sheikh Kayira tauba. Twenenye twesabire ekiro n'emisana. Okitegeera, because Allah is most forgiving, he's most merciful. Okitegeera. So you look back ne wennyamira mu mutima n'ogamba oba ensobi yava wano. Okitegeera. N'osaba Katonda n'akutereereza omuntu wo. Okitegeera. Another thing I want to touch on before I come off is not involving third parties in our marriages. Bano ba best friend, ati I tell you everything, ati nayombye Sheikh Kassim, ati munange, ati you didn't buy this. Keep your affairs between you and Allah. Never shake abamo. Nabobuli omwaina fairo ya gazibuge. Everyone has their own issues going on. In most cases, ogende wa shake, no mubulira munange omwami akola bwati, omukyala akola bwati. Before you know, gwe gwawanga example mutoke ddako kati gwe nannyini kizibu obeera omanyi nti yeggwe okitegeera. So this trusting of and involving third parties in our marriage is also ruining them. So, you know, keeping affairs in your marital home and entrusting your affairs with God, having that direct line to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without saying, okay, let me call on, you know, on so and so and tell them about the problems I have in my marriage. It can happen to some, no funaba confident. Na ye, you have to be very, very careful.
Mariam, Jaden had raised his hand. I think that he wanted to respond to some of the issues you said, but quickly, let me just come in. From the Sharia perspective, the Islamic guidance on marriage, when it comes to involvement of third parties, actually there is a sort of a chain of how issues should evolve. So it starts with, in case you have a disagreement or misunderstanding between the two of you, the first place to start from is have a conversation. But actually, this is on just this point. It looks like this is where all the effort now is going, because Mariam, you've come in, and Sarah was on that. Chat room is heating up, and it all goes back to that communication becoming stifled because probably of the manner in which you met, and therefore making it difficult for you to have a conversation. Quran, the Sharia, starts clearly from the premise that in case you have a disagreement, talk about it. And that's between you, husband and wife, the couple that is concerned. This is where it starts from. By the time this fails and you've really struggled, you've tried all means possible at this particular level and failed, then you move to stage 2, which is involving a party from your side, a person that knows or has your best interests at heart, and then bringing a person who has the best interests at heart of the man. And that's level 2. At the level 2 where it fails, then it means it might be too deep, deeper than we might think. That's where now you go to the imam. And at that level, you are already looking at the possibility of, if things fail, then you are looking at the possibility of either divorce in case of a husband divorcing the wife. And because in Islamic Sharia, a woman does not divorce a man seeking to be separated from the man on the part of the woman. But you see, all these stages, the 3 steps, are stages that are not necessarily happening in the morning, in the afternoon, by evening, you finish the 3 stages. It has a bit of time and learning for room for change to happen. Ultimately, it goes back to what Allah emphasizes in the Quran when He says, وَإِنْ يُرِيدَا إِصْلَاحًا. Anybody can do whatever they do, but in case the 2 parties, husband and wife, are interested in coming back together, in pushing forward with their relationship, yuwaffiquhumullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a way around that. Jaden, go ahead, please, and then I'll bring in Haji and go. I can see this is beginning to bring a lot of heat, and that is 27 minutes past 9 o'clock, so 33 minutes to the top of the hour. Yes, Jaden, you have the mic.
Yes, I just wanted to.
And Mariam, I can see your hand, so
I wanted to touch on what Hajara mentioned there about.
It was Hajara's comment. Okay, yes. Touch on Hajara, and then we'll go.
Yeah, and then I'll move on to the others. I forgot the names. I think Hajara.
Mariam is Mariam and Hajara.
Yeah. So when she said the Senga came at the point when she was due to get married, I think we forget one thing. When we are growing up, we learn a lot of things from our parents. We learn from our mother, we learn from our dads. The things that worked for them are the good things that we keep and take forward to our marriage. If it has worked for your mother and father, the way they communicated and stayed for a long life together, I'll give the example of Mr. Makumi. They've stayed for 42 years. There must be elements of good things, either in communication, respect for each other, their values, which their children ought to copy and take it forward to their marriage. However, any marriage, as we know, is a hybrid of at least 4 people. The husband and wife will come with characteristics from their individual parents. And what we forget is that this is a new relationship. What may have worked for yourself, what you may have copied from your mother, for example, the best example is the cooking. My mother's cooking was always the best, so I expect everybody to like my mother's cooking. But the man will also have the cooking from his mother, and that sometimes can bring sources of conflict. But how do we move forward? How do we move forward? We move forward by compromise, because marriage is all about negotiation. Hajat Sarah mentioned about interests. I disagree there. It's not the interests, it's the values. Because I've got an interest in motor cars and football, and my wife doesn't have that. She might have other interests. So it's the values. What value are you bringing to the to the table? And are those values so valuable that you need to pass it on to your children? So if you can't compromise on those values, if you can't compromise and negotiate well as to what is good for the two of you, then it's not going to work for your children. And the moment you fail to compromise and negotiate, then you start copying from other relationships. The internet is a very good place where people start off from, and in most times it takes them down. So I'm looking at marriage as a place of compromise. The hybrid behaviors, the hybrid values that they bring from their respective families have got to be conjoined to make something which works for you, because it will not work. Because we are different people, we come from different families, we lived in different environments, we've got different, self-worth. So it's not going to work if you transplant it wholesale into a relationship.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Bwana Jaden. Yes, I'll go first back to Mariam, then come to Isa Makumbi, and I'll come to Haji, because you've raised some interesting points there in the chat room that I'd like probably us to explore a little bit. And it is 29 minutes to 10 o'clock. Interesting conversation. Mariam, you have the mic.
Hi, sorry, I lost connection and I kind of got kicked out.
And you came back when your questions were being actually answered, and we missed you on that. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm kind of agreeing with the gentleman who's just been speaking. It's all about compromising, understanding that you are two different people. You were raised differently. You are going to mwesanze bukulu. So you just have to understand that, how do I get to accept that this is who this person is? And you look behind, and you look beyond their imperfections, if that makes sense. And you look at the bigger picture of what do you want from this marriage? Besides being together in this dunya, do you see it as an act of ibadah as well? Oshirabanga ibadah nti ofunamu actually, not just in this life, but naye even in the hereafter, ojja kufunamu obuwanguzi obusinga. So okwerekereza ebintu ebimu n'ogamba, do you know what? And then you walk beyond it. And then every day becomes easier as you get to try and understand one another. If, for example, muchala wo tayagala kufumba, but you don't mind, you know, Sheikh Kassim, you love your food. Everyone knows that, mashallah, alhamdulillah. So if it's you know, that I know you don't mind me giving you as an example. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyone.
absolutely fine. Yes.
So if your wife, for example, comes back tired, busy, whatever, you're happy to jump in the kitchen. So you find, you know, you find ways of making things work, but not dwelling on something like tayagala kusimula. If tayagala kusimula, you pick up the mop and do it, and then you move on. Do you understand? So it's all about, the key word here is compromising, and also social media is another problem that we have. We are fantasizing all about, you know, the grass is greener, you know, on the other side, to be as good as what you're seeing on social media. There's a lot of lies out there that you have one issue in your marriage and you think that someone jumping into your inbox is actually going to do you, because they're probably saying the right thing at that time. Disorganizinga, and you end up demo. So being aware that social media is a lie as well, having that at the back of your mind, it's not the reality. We've had people like Twitch commit suicide.
Yes.
For those who know,
they looked absolutely happy when everything around them looked complete.
Exactly. So things appear complete in the outside world, but actually when you get a snapshot of what goes on people's lives, then you get to appreciate, and also okuberanga or sima, that you have been given the gift of having a marriage. It's a blessing. So holding on to it and finding ways in whatever way things work.
Thank you very much, Mariam. Yes, I'll bring back Isa Makumbi again, and then I'll come to Haji. Haji, you have raised a lot of points in the chat room. It will be very, very interesting just to sort of get to, well, delve separately. Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, people have been talking about that. If I've got problem, I go to the mullahs or discuss my family problems. I advise, I tell you, if I've got family problems, sit down with your wife or husband and talk over it. You see, you discuss intensively, where have we gone wrong? Why have we come to this point? For me, my belief is, if I've got problems, I have to sit down with my wife and go through it, and then you solve it up. And then you come to a compromise, and then it becomes binding to both parties. I wouldn't like to get in third parties, even be my mother when she was around, she wouldn't interfere in my family life.
Yeah, but Lisa, that is well said. But in the circumstances, every situation is different. It might be that the circumstances that you're in, for example, I'll give you a very quick example. In Sharia, when a woman, for example, when you divorce, or when the process of divorce is underway, a woman is supposed to sit in her home, her marital home, until the period of iddah is completed. But in case there is domestic violence involved, it is immediate that this person has to be removed from this.
I'm going to that.
That's why I'm saying that when you say running to the mullahs, it is now a situation where the two of you have failed. And I'm sure you listened, you heard when I was giving the Sharia point, like the steps that we have to go through. By the time you go to these people, you have failed between yourselves to sort of resolve that.
Yeah, if I see things bubbling up, there are times when you feel that you are going to run into a conflict, I just move out of the room. Then I say, okay.
Isa, you're presenting it as if it's that immediate.
No. The thing is, what brings fighting or domestic violence is failing to compromise.
I just want to speak to Isa Makum.
Mr. Makum, I think that what he's saying may have worked for him, but it won't work for everyone.
Yeah, but
if you keep your parents outside your marriage, it sometimes is not helpful. I have children who are married at the moment, and my daughter comes to me to seek guidance time and again. It doesn't mean that I have to confront her husband or speak to her husband, but I continually give her advice. It's important for us parents to have our doors open for our children to run to us whenever they have issues, because it helps to break up those issues and not become bigger issues.
Yeah,
So I would disagree with you, because when you give youngsters such advice that your mom will never interfere in your marriage, it's not a question of interfering, it's a question of being involved for the sake of building that relationship.
Isa Makumbi?
Yeah, but I think I've seen most of the cases. If a son goes to her mom, the 90% will side with his son. If a daughter goes to her mom, 70% should decide with her daughter.
If I didn't have children, I would agree with you. For me, it's not about taking sides. It's not about people scoring points. It's about helping a relationship thrive. So it's the way I enter into it, or the way I try and help my youngsters, is just to help them develop. And I mean, acknowledge that there would be difficulties, but doing this and that can help.
Yeah, but I think that's the point that Jadel raises in the chat room. He says that's correct. What's happened to one family may not work elsewhere, and therefore the template has to be generated or developed by both husband and wife.
What I would like to say, there are some issues that are very sensitive to a wife or to a man. You have to keep away from those. If the wife said that if I cook food on Sunday or Friday, I have to be at home at 5. If you know that if you don't turn up at 5 to make her angry, why don't you come back at that time? You just think you have to know that this is very sensitive to her. That's no-go area, and keep it from that. For example, in my place, she knows I like motor racing and football. When it comes to football, that is uncompromised. I can't compromise. Say, I know her, she's much of an activist. She likes support women's group. I've been to most of the women's group in London, all of them. If there's any seminar, whatever it is, she used to drag me into those meetings. I know that what makes her happy. I had to go.
Isa, I'll only leave you because I want to bring in more people. More hands are coming up. I'll go to Haji first, and then thank you very much, Isa Makumbi. Always a delight to have you on as part of the bigger conversation. We are still live on 75W Radio, live on Uber, connected on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom, where hands are going up. Haji, I'm bringing you on because you've raised quite a number of issues in the chat room. Questioning some of these issues, including the issue of the single. Haji, you have the mic. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please forgive me because I happen to have been out eating out, and in the background I was watching Arsenal playing. So please, if you hear any noise, please forgive me.
It is Arsenal playing if we hear any noise.
I'm a strong Arsenal fan. So thank you so much for this topic, and thank you for all the listeners who have been tuning in and giving in the advice. But what I'm confused is the kind of marriage you are talking about. Well, you seem to be talking about a conservative type of marriage, whereby our mothers or our fellow grandmothers went through, whereby a man comes in the house, he becomes a man, and everybody, not even the cat cannot even play. So
the chicken
the man becomes a macho man, and the woman and the children goes into hiding. They don't talk, they don't interact. But he's a man. He provides. He buys a car. He builds a bigger house. They have a big farm, and they are good setters on the village or in the area. They are sheikhs or they are hajis or they are lawyers or whatever they might be. Now, this kind of marriage, everybody knows about it. But there is a new kind of marriage which is emerging now with our children, where they have gone to school. We find that the boy knows more about even marriage than what meets the eye. They go into chat rooms, they go into studies, they learn about what we don't even know ourselves as adults. And the same goes to women as well.
Sorry, let me just come in there. When you say they know a lot about, do you mean marriage or about sex? Because the two are different.
Yes, marriage, they know about marriage.
They know because never bring out the real life experiences that you have.
Yes, because marriage is a tango between the two, a man and the wife and the children. There is no way you will leave them out. So you find that a woman knows how to spice you, how to spice the life. But the man he has married is a conservative man. He comes home, puts on his kanzu, and sits down on the mukeka. But the woman wants him to put on those shorts, and then he wants to show him some films. And the woman will change into another kind of dress. Will this man think that I've married a whore? Or will he think, yes, I've got the kind of woman that will stop me from looking out and looking unto others? That's the problem we are facing now. So many of us men, when we find a woman who is well interacted with others, who knows more about life, you tend to think that this kind of woman is the wrong type of woman. We want a woman who is quiet in the house, doesn't talk, doesn't question you, doesn't do anything. And at the end, marriage becomes a boredom. With us Muslims, especially in our village, they end up marrying other women because they are looking for fun. But what would you do?
What advice on our topic tonight, where we're talking about how should we save our marriages from breaking up? What would be
my advice?
What we need to do to save our marriage?
My advice is for you, because the life has changed, everything has been updated. We should not focus on previous marriages which our fathers and our aunties went through. We should focus on the present status of marriage, which is going on right now. If you are marrying a university student, if you are marrying a university graduate, if you are marrying a doctor, don't think that she's going to be quiet in the house. She's going to challenge you. So think of the things you want. Think of your status and the kind of woman you want to take. If your status is below par, don't look for a very sophisticated woman who will be challenging you in every aspect you are going to be carrying on in your house. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, Haji. Barakallahu fikum. No sophisticated wives. Look out, men, as you go in and you want simplicity. If you choose a complicated woman, then you are in problems. So, Eddie Masaba, I bring on while reading Mariam's message here, who says, I don't think there is a formula for marriage, to be honest. As a couple, you just have to figure what works for your household. What society portrays as an abomination might be a perfect fit for you. Sits like a lion and demands for food he didn't buy. That's the man in the council in the village. That was from Zainab. Jazakallahu khairan, so true. And that was from Hajarat there. Manya Saizio, that's from Zainab. So when did I come to you? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh,
always coming in when it is all heated up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I came in when my sister Mariam was in charge. She was making submissions, and I really liked the way she presented it. Just in reference to the last speaker's comment, and that today you need to update the marriage to fit the current trend in terms of if you're marrying a university graduate, just know. But to me, I find that is where the problem is. That is where we find, that's why the marriages are failing. For us to think that the things have changed, there's nothing that has changed. Let's stick to the real core principles of what marriage is supposed to be, in terms of women should remain women, men remain men. If the moment we begin saying that because some other people are now educated, status is changed, I got her, she's a PhD holder, so I can't just do this to her. She can't. That's where we are going to fail. Time and again, I've said this to sisters. I've got sisters, nephews, cousins. I've advised them that, look, if you want to keep your marriage, kanchogera mu Luganda maybe, kiriza abakazi abala kuvumeko nti oli musiru. But you know what you want. Kubanga at the end of the day, abakazi bano bajja kwita omusiru, but naye gwe ogenda kufumba. You will stay in that marriage. Eventually, guy mwenyini nyini aja kutandika kwesettinga a can't man. You know, she's not a nagging woman. Tankoze chino, she's nakola chino, I got away with it. She pardoned me, she forgave me. And before you know, you got the guy, you got the man back. Before you know, guy aliao, because the more you stay, nayaka diwa, taina jaraga. Taina jaraga.
So when you've just touched into the wasps now. Mariam is back. Mariam, talk to Soweto.
Brother Soweto. Brother Soweto. Nkuyise mirundi emeka. Nkuyise mirundi emeka. Now, jokes aside, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I don't know if abantu bawulidde bulungi nnyo submission ya Soweto. Nokola kino nakusonyiwa, nokola kino nakusonyiwa, noyenda nakusonyiwa, nobba nakusonyiwa, nokola bondiki nakusonyiwa, nga aliawo submissive wife taddamu tobuuza musajja gyava.
No, but Soweto, is that the sort of wife you are referring to? I think Mariam is making it a bit extreme.
Yeah, that is a bit of extreme, because, for example, Mariam, I think for those who are working with social services will agree with me. Like, for example, a number of cases that come through in terms of DV, it's the men end up being thrown out, even and you know, nalimbi manyi biri mufe. But I was so shocked. There's a brother I know. He is so nice. To me, I find him to be so fine. Forget Basowedi bana balina mwe byabwe. Basowedi bafeko. Ono guy but I was so saddened. He came to me last week, Nangama, and have been thrown out of the house. Nemgamba, my brother, the brother is a Moroccan. Nembuza, what's the problem? Nangama, I don't know. She doesn't want me there. Na yo mchala ya mujja wabwe. Even the sisters-in-law bakuba Julian, she has been a good woman. All of the sudden things. What was something in this country? And by the way, and the same thing happened if Usama is on this show. We'll agree. Another friend of mine, Naiya Jo Mkaze that we all praised. We all praised, and we did not see anything wrong in her. All of the sudden, the marriage has broken. The moment she started working, Natanko Gamba, she wanted to be given time to go out to the guy. The guy is so liberal, by the way. The guy is so flexible and liberal. Ngamwane sentence, okay, you go out. Neighbor machala bano. It's a sad story. So to me, I think, but the more we begin claiming that we have to be flexible, we have to be modern, to coping, and we paste, things are getting worse and worse. Let's go back to the traditions. Women be women, men be men.
Yes. No, saying Soweto. Let me bring in Chance. Chance, are you agreeing or disagreeing with Soweto? You seem to be on fire. Hello, Chance.
Yes,
Chance,
hello.
Hello, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
It's a very fun topic, but it's sensitive and real because it affects our community.
Could you try to get closer to your microphone, Chance? We cannot hear you very well, and yet we would like to hear your submission, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, much better now. Thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't concur with Brother Soweto, because we have this tendency that if we get girls, or sorry to call them girls, wives from back home, if you bring them here, they will be more submissive, or the marriage will be a bed of roses, which I find it's very unrealistic because we have different objectives. When you pick a lady from back home, she comes with a different angle of life. And when she comes here, things are different. And there may not be time for patience to get her used into the system, you know? And me, I don't blame any party for breakup, because maybe there was no enough time for them to get used to each other because they're in a foreign environment. But by and large about this topic is marriage is very funny because I've been in the same thing, but at the end of the day, when you start accusing the other party, then you know that you're on the blink of failing. Accusing each other, it won't solve anything. And taking time to understand each other is more critical. And what in the chat room I said, seeking, because people were saying, keep your marriage to the two parties. That's, to me, I find it's very unfair in this era. If you feel there is fire burning, the sooner you bring in an arbitrator or a counselor, the better for you. Because marriage will start, it's not, someone is not going to wake up one day and say, it's done. It just starts with small things and you just ignore them, you know? But if you come to talk about them, because you may not talk about them because you're not seeing the other side of the angle, what she's going through. But when you bring in a middle person, he sees all the sides. And there I think you can get a solution. That's my input.
Right, thank you very much. Chance, go to you. Mariam, you are back. It looks like you're on fire, but let me just read a quick message here while you come in. Lots of messages in here. I'll just try to go. Haj was saying, does it mean that when we liberalize our women, I don't think liberalizing was the word. I think he wanted to mean if they, well, you have a liberal man and a liberal woman, they end up getting spoiled. Should the woman be kept behind the scenes so as to stop them from getting spoiled? 100% women should remain submissive as women, and that is from Tunzi. Something that, well, someone says 100% women should remain submissive and as women. Why are they not? Aha, good question. And the Mariam submissive leads to controlling to a large extent. Eventually, one party gets fed up. Mariam, go ahead. I think it's that you wanted to expound on. Hello, Mariam.
Hi, I think that's what I wanted to precisely say. Ekintu ky'okugamba nti obere submissive. It depends on how people define submissive. Waliwo okubeera submissive ng'omwami wange bw'angamba nti, you know what, togenda wano, okitegeera. It's sometimes it's not even what you know what you say, it's how you say it. Fembi tuli bantu bakulu, okitegeera. I like my weddings, okitegeera. Kakati ongamba nedda ku mbaga ya Leila togenda, okitegeera. Nze nsazeewo bw'ogenda, that's it. It's how you're going to say it. Sigenda kutuula wansi ngambe nti agambye I will not go. So it depends on how we are defining submissive. Ate nze ndaba submissive naddala mwene ensi gye tulimu bannange. In most cases it comes down to controlling. Okuddayo ku brother Sowed kyabadde agamba nti tuddeyo mu nnono z'abajjajjaffe muzaabaani okitegeera. Tuddeyo mu nnono ezo ebyakolanga edda really tebigenda kukola wano twetaaga compromise. Ebyokutula wansi ogambe nti ovudde ku shifti ne munna avudde ku shifti naye yakole kino gwe toddamu tokola kigwe kigumiikiriza bugumiikiriza oba yagenze ekiro n'atadda ng'akomyewo ku makya tomubuuza musajja tebamubuuza gye yasuze musajja tebamubuuza kino gwe you just cook it's close to impossible. Okitegeera. And then eventually we blame it on tutuleesa abantu, then omukyala azze, then n'akyuka obufumbo ne buggwawo. There is something that is embedded in that marriage that Moroccan friend, that Nigerian friend will not tell you. Outside world picture, omuntu ayinza okumpakanira nti you know what, tasobola, she comes across as a nice person, naye nga you're living nightmare ku bantu bo. Many a times people are really good to people who are on the outside, but in their families, mumakagabwe, nsolo, they are lions, you know? So you can't make a judgment by what you see, you know, what a workmate has told you, what a friend has told you. You know what, muntu mulungi nnyo omukazi yakirwaki yamukasise ebweru. It's very unfortunate nti wano, obviously, you know, cancer tejja kasika bweru mukyala n'abaana. Obviously, bajja kutwala priority. But also they have a duty of care to house that the single father gwe bakasise ebweru as well. But going back to Sowedi's point, there is no smoke without fire. Ekintu tekiva mu bbanga omuntu gw'omaze naye ebbanga ng'omwagala ng'omusaasira and someone just wakes up n'agamba nti, you know, black bag yiyo. There's always, you know, something that is beyond what the society, sees or even knows.
Right, noted. Yes, 75W Radio. Hello, Baker. And Soed is coming back.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh, Sheikh Kayira.
Assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. 4 minutes to the end of the show. Oh my God, and that's when it starts hitting
topic. I know, Sheikh Kayira, I think this generation, they don't pack bags anymore. They don't pack black bags anymore. That was in the 2000s. Now what they do, everyone keeps quiet. Everyone just minds their own business. So literally, the kids are on their own. N'abazadde mama ne taata buli omu ali ku lulwe kati ne tubeera mu katyabaga nti olina waba afunye ekizibu, we can't check in. Naye nga I think advice the solution gyendeeta kubanga time giraba egenda solution gyendeeta. I think we need to check in fenna. We need to check in. Musobola okugamba ku lunaku lwa Friday oba ku lunaku lwa Saturday oba olwa Sunday fenna tuliira wamu ne tutuula wamu and we say time to check in. Buli omu openinga omutima gwe aberenga, open your heart so that muberenga you're ready to receive ekizibu oli kyagenda okukuba oba kyagenda okubulira nti you have such and such problem oba tuli bwe tutine bwe tuli omu akyengeyina abazadde babuza abaana tuli tutyanga abazadde n'abaana babuza abazadde how are we as children n'abazadde bombi maama ne taata buli omu abuze munne how am I to you, once we check in kasita tubeera nga tujja kucheckinga in kijja tusevingira ebintu bingi tujja kusooka okubeera tuba tetukyali roommates nga bwe tuli mu mbeera eno naku zino tetukyasiba black bag oli asirika n'agamba kanfuneyo ka toy boy kange Uganda oba kanfuneyo ka girlfriend wange oba mukazi wange Uganda tubeere wano nga tujja wano just eringa nga bwe tuva wano ne tugenda buli omu agenda shift buli omu n'akola shift tulinga mu house share netubeera mu house share buli omu ali ku lulwe time bwe tukogenda Uganda oba kugenda wama mu holiday ng'akubira girlfriend nga bagenda kuli naye kati we just need to check in. Once we check in with each other, to resolving everything, not just once, but let's say on a weekly basis. That's just what I wanted to add.
Barakallahu fikum, Becca, and a message here from Zainab Becca who says that suggestion by Becca can work if men now take over their responsibility like our fathers did. It has down a little bit to the point that they are not able to do that. Be the sole caretakers instead of splitting bills. I also wash his feet nightly. Found this very message here, very interesting, from Hajj, who says it's normal when we go to a dance party, and I pre-quote to you that when Mr. Kayira comes for a dance, I will agree, but you should refuse. This is normal. Is it a man that needs to protect his wife? A woman would feel that the fence has been built around her, and that will make her proud that man Jagara. Oh my goodness. We should be wrapping up now with exactly 10 o'clock. So we'll have just 2 quick comments in there, inshallah, and then
yes, I can on tomorrow's topic. How do we change a mindset? How do we change a mindset? Kati wemba nakula nga mwami Sowedding nze ndi musajja waka nze byange ngenda nga bajjajja bange. How do we kati ng'omuwagala kukikyusa ekyo kukijjamu omuntu okimugjamu otya oba wooli bw'aba yakula ng'alina engeri gye baamukuzaamu. I can do all bad by myself. Gamba tukyusa tutya mindset ya topic yaffe ey'enkya. Inshallah, ku bridge in the gap of box.
All right, Becca. Well, I'll bring Sowedding Masaba and then end up with Issa Makumbi. Quick, short ones, please. We need to be wrapping up. Alhamdulillah. And thank you very much for a very interesting conversation that I wish had started being this heated just at the start around 8 o'clock when we just kicked off. Remember, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75W Radio, live on Umma Connected, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Zoom. And remember, if you miss any of our programs, you can always just go back to YouTube, search for Umma Connected, and look for Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, and you'll be able to catch up with any program that you might have missed. So Wendy, to you, and then to Issa Makumbi to finish up the program.
Now, Seka, I think I don't know whether, because I joined in late, you interrogated this question further or examined it, and we looked at the factors that lead to the breakout. But to me, I want to strictly focus on you. We want to focus on Ugandan families. Yeah, let's take Nigerians out. What general public? Let's look at our own communities. Ugandans, 9 out of 10 of the families I've known that have broken up, there have been 2 things. One, omwami yawasizo omukyalo omulala. You get it? Oba yafunyeyo omulala. Era that brings back to the thing, mukwano gwange yangamba towepankanga nti mukazi wa kwagala nnyo until you've tested her with another woman.
Yes.
So, netuzula nti that's a red line for them. Yeah? Tebakkiriza. You cross a red line, ni wabati akupakingira. 2, it has always been abasajja, they don't want to meet their obligations in terms of facilitating the homes. Bobabuza bagamba, you know, esente zonna ziweereza Kampala, and wano alowooza nti zenfuna akamwanyi, it's enough, ngamba nange nkola. So those are the 2 factors ezivuddeko nnyo, especially Ugandan families okwawukagana. One, even here in Crawley, in my local community, bonna abaawukana, it has been the case. Nti akuzudde obadde olina sente z'oweereza Uganda, ate bazudde eriyo omukazi gw'obadde oziweereza. So kakati to me, badde nsaba nti for us to stop that, abantu bakkirize babeere nga abazungu, kubanga abazungu wakikoowedde wakiviiramu. There's no pretense with bazungu. That is the relationship yakubanga omuzungu ye wakoowera wagamba nti I've had enough of you. End of. I'm not interested anymore. Na yefe abakazi, they are very skillful. Baina seka Kayira baina art. My sisters temunquoting awi. Nayenga chemanyi nti muina art yo considering emizeja until that time when you need to strike. It's when they go. You get it? They can. A woman can even keep up to 10 years. Nga chagoba techina kutuka. Paka na chitukako na alioka yesika muni bandebe unya no kwe unya. To me, I'm telling everyone here and to other listeners, our listeners and my colleagues there, nti bino byetugamba nti because you will say that chetwagala okukopa, has it worked for them? No. Divorces are like divorces outside our own Ugandan community because of the things you guys are advocating for. Because why stick on a formula that is failing, that has been tested and failed? The thing is,
which formula do you mean?
Yogamba nti simanyi, I go where I want to go. I have my liberty to go to my mbagazi. Njaga genda wenjagala. I don't have to seek permission. Nkoye nvaku shifti. Now genda microwave yo wetere mu bichi. Kwe gamba ebya modernity byetugamba bifailinze. Right. It has failed. It is a system that's not working. Why should we stick on a formula, a model that has failed?
Thank you very much, Soed. Yes, I'm leaving you to go to Shakir, who hasn't spoken. Shakir, I come to you. Looks like Masawa has touched a cable.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Akati nja kutandika nga ngamba nti nno obufumbo buno kuwangala. I think we need to know both our responsibilities as wife and woman and man and husband. Kakati senga buli omu aterezeza responsibilities ze, then I think akaguwa kokutulwa bufumbo kaba slim, I mean kaba thick, okitegera nti kaba kazibu kakumenya. Na ye here I've noticed most people I've talked to that are single parents is some people don't realize that raising families in UK is very expensive. It's very expensive. Most of our African, Ugandan children are raised in poverty. Why? Yet the parents are working. Double lives. Which double lives am I talking about? Not necessarily nti I know omukazi Uganda, but nakola omusala, nakwata omusala ogwo, over 70% yonna n'agiteeka e Uganda. Forgetting nti no wano ya settling wano waliwo expenses nyingi nnyo, including omwana wawa nakyusa engoye 4 seasons okitegeera. That's all expensive. Kakati because omwami yeerabira your responsibility n'atandika nemuleetamu obusungu buli omukazi bw'akyogerako ne muba nga mukiyomberamu omukazi. It's very very hurting. I don't know nammwe abasajja oba kibaluma okulaba abaana bo nga bakulira mu bwavu ate nga mukola oba omwami agenda naabula okitegeera. Kakati n'ogamba omukyala okafuneyo akalimu. Omukyala bw'afuna akamolo naye asudde obuvunaanyizibwa bwe. Tajja kubeera ng'abeerawo okuwa mmere gwe omusajja nga bw'olowooza nti bampe emmere. Ajja kuva ku mulimu ng'akooye nga buli kimu kimunyiiza. Abaana mubaleekaanira. Naawe omusajja omukazi yandibadde atebenkeza abaana bulungi. Tasobola kubanga akooye naye. Agamba naawe kati oyo omwana mukwateko naawe. Homework w'abaana biki biki. So life becomes very overwhelming for both of you. Ng'omusajja oyagala kuwummulako okitegeera naye tolina woowummulira kubanga omukazi naye ava kukola akooye mulina mu nnyumba abamu tebasobola, they reach the point ntasobola nakutidinga up nnyumba kubanga akooye okitegeera. Kaakati ekyo I think kunze omusajja bw'anakkiriza si musajja yekka ffenna bwe tunakkiriza oba muvudde e Uganda muzze wano sigaanye Uganda mukolereyo ke mukolerayo naye temwemalirayo ate kasente konna nga bw'okakoze wano okatwale e Uganda such that wano mubeera so pressed to the point mujjukire nti nno couples eziri married one there are no benefits you get. Ebyo balowooza nti n'abantu balina benefits ze bafuna child benefit biki biki. Child benefit bwe busente omwana bw'atwala mu ka KFC n'abulya ne buggwawo okitegeera. So abasajja bwe banaalekerawo okutunuulira ka child benefit ako n'ekirala mpozi kye njagala okuraisinga, where and how did you meet your wife? Bw'obanga omukyala wo wamufuna ddala ddala ne mubeera nga mulivinze emyaka 10 omukyala we alina mikwano gye egifuuse mikwano gyo naawe families za tojja kera ku makya omugambe gundi togenda genda wa gundi okitegeera. Kitwale empola paka bwe tunaakula. Ate n'ekirala kambabulira abasajja ngenda kiddamu bibamenyera bwereere omukazi bw'aweza emyaka 4 akakkana
awo nkigaanye
si buli omu naye abasinga obungi bakakkana si buli omu naye abasinga obungi.
But actually, how do you explain the ngombe gama life starts at 40? That's for women.
I mean, I think it depends on what you have at 40. If you are at 40, you have your children, or are you investing in your children? Because if you invest in your children, you will be satisfied in a way. You know, okay, kati ninganga settle inze no mwami often obebi occupying, I don't know, over you get to nze sijja kulimba kunze. I think it's learning about the deen. I will always say that. No manya responsibility zongo omukyala, no manya nti ojja bijja kubuuzibwako, no manya nti obufumbo buno ibada kyogenzeemu okitegeera. Senga omusajja n'omukazi ffenna tumanya nti obufumbo ibada oba toguze mmere waka bulungi ekyo kijja kubuuzibwako okitegeera. I think come out.
Shaki, you're on fire. Becca was saying, very well spoken. Says, so when Masava, you become more calm. I said that earlier. See marriage as an aspect of bad problem solved, and that's from Mariam Situ. I think we'll have to end it here. Isa Makumbe. I see time is already 10 minutes past 10 o'clock. In the technical department, they are on my case. Chitwezi says at 40, they even become wild. That is on women, seeming to agree with what I was submitting. Haj says, but because the woman was simple-minded and produced kids one after another without any breaks, and now she isn't up to standard as she used to be, then later she realizes, so that's why they go wild at 40. Very toxic, so you become neighbors with different interests, hence Becca's formula of side dishes and what happens in Uganda. Very interesting conversation there. I'll take in more text now because I'm going to wrap up. Isa Makumbi, I'll just give you the last one. Sina Chakora. Sometimes people think marriage is a factory for making kids, and women are the caretakers instead of cohabiting. With the trend in the family, the men are selfish and leaves everything to the women. He doesn't remember her birthday nor their anniversary. And this coming from a man, I think, is quite strong. True. And so it was full of Sungu. That was from Mariam. Lots of messages here coming in. And so when was saying Baker's strategy is toxic, I think. I don't know whether that's the side dishes aspect or not. Yes, Issa Makumbi, you have the last word, and then inshallah we shall wrap up. A very interesting conversation, and well, the program is still Come Let's Talk with the Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75 W Radio, live on Uma Connected, live.
Assalamualaikum. Ekisinga kyonna kyonna bw'oba oli musajja gula emmere awaka nambeemu. Ekyokubiri, omukyala wawayo mukolo mugulire engoye. Oba ali lugoye lwa Yidi omwete mutwena Yidi bbiri omujja kugula engoye bbiri ez'omukyala. Mikwano gy'omukyala gifuuke mikwano gyo. Bwe bajja awaka, bw'oba ng'oli mikwano gye bajja kukwagala. Omuzadde wa maama, bazadde b'omukyala babe bakwano bo. Ojja kuba n'ebundi. Ate bw'oba omukyala asomye, diguli zisigala bweru, kasita omukyala ayingira mu nnyumba zisigala bweru. N'ekirala job share. Omukyala bw'atwala abaana ku ssomero ku makya gwe bakimu olw'eggulu. Bw'oba nga omukyala akola late, fumba asanga emmere ekoze ki, oba n'ojjoga nti kale onaku mujja kufumba omulundi gumu. Naye nga siga nti omunaku ojja kuba ng'ofumba. Bw'onookola ebyo ojja kuba n'emirembe. Ate bwe mumanya nti kati tugenze ku holiday, temutwala biki byonna, essimu mbeera na ssimu emu. Then mujja kumanyanganya each other ne problems gye bwe ziva. Tojja kuba na kasita onookola ebintu, you won't have any problem.
Barakallahu fikum. Thank you very much, Mr. Makumbi. And those are last words, famous last words that I think we can take away and deal with, looking at how to save our homes. Definitely, this is an ongoing subject. Every home is different. Every situation is different. But I think there are some guiding principles. Talk. And that is very, very important. But as you talk, definitely, one has to be listening. So you should be able to listen to one another. And that's what makes up for a beautiful conversation. Next week, we are touching a very difficult subject, and therefore I should prepare you in advance. There's a video clip that has been going out from the BBC regarding children going back next week. And as they start next week, you know what is happening, teaching of relationship studies, which now has to bring in LGBT, pushing the LGBT agenda, which is quite strong. There has been calls from Muslim communities worried that up to now, Muslim communities have just been quiet and not counteracting this particular challenge that we are facing. So next week, we shall be looking at this whole idea of teaching children relationship studies and what it means. Some parents have opted to pull out their children and have taken their children away, either into homeschooling or even out of the country as sort of a protest to what is going on. What are you doing on your part? Next week, inshallah, Tuesday, 8 p.m., we shall be looking at that difficult topic, which is very sensitive, but at the same time, one that we must address, inshallah, come next week. Thank you very much for keeping it 75 W Radio and keeping it Ummah connected. We do not take your time for granted, and we thank you for being a part of the conversations. Hopefully, inshallah, we should be with you next week in time so that we can get the debate running as it has run. Remember, if you've missed any part of this conversation, just like any other programs, you can just go to YouTube, search for Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira, on Ummah Connected, or actually on 75wradio.com. If you just look for Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, you'll find a list of all the programs from before on Facebook, and you can listen back. Thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you next week, Tuesday, exactly at 8 p.m. inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.